So, what's up guys, Dazanar here. I'm at Hal Scott. This should be posted after the last video where I showed you the prescribed burn. I didn't make it to the creek that I wanted to. Hold on, bear with me. I didn't make it to the creek that I wanted to, but I made it to this branch. This is called the branch, and it's pretty much a stream. It's kind of a creek. You can call it a creek. Practically the same thing. It's more of a stream, a lot more shallow. Look at this. Someone even made stepping stones. How amazing. But this can flow year-round with rainwater, and it transports it from miles and miles and miles that way all the way down to the Ekanlakachi River, which is about probably a half a mile that way, maybe a little less. Look at Cuppy. He's like, bro, can you help me? Can you help me? You can wade it, Bubby. Look, I can walk in it, man. Yeah, it's not deep. It's not deep at all, bro. So this neat little place. A lot of the branches in the area, though, have in Florida in general, have been destroyed and replaced with homes or roads or telephone infrastructure. So a lot of the natural branches are gone and got made into canals and redirected the water into the canals and stuff like this. But they would originally look like this, and we would have lots of little swampish areas. I didn't want to make this an ecology video. I'm sorry. I wanted to talk to you guys about perspective today and my perspectives on how I can see different realities within one reality. And I'm gonna spend a little bit more time hanging out with these pups, and then I'm gonna get back to you. Hey, so wouldn't you know it, I fell in that little stream there. 1 foot, just 1 foot, guys. I was trying to torture my little puppy here and get him wet because he's hot and he doesn't want to get wet. And my foot went plop. So now I'm trying to sock on my shoulder. Perspective, though. Yeah, I could tell you guys a few different things, a few different theories I have on perspectives, and I'm gonna try and keep my brain focused on just one of those perspectives today. Try very hard. And I just wanted to talk about the idea of how, like, we people, we humans, I find, are very similar to other beings, entities, and objects in this universe. And more specifically, how we human beings, to my understanding and how I can view us, are like galaxies, like entire galaxies. Now, it might not really look like we have anything at all in common with galaxies, but I would just beg to differ and suggest that maybe you're not thinking about it as much as I have creatively, because we are definitely very similar to galaxies. Our entire consciousness, what thinks for us the most, what drives us the most, what takes in all this information and stores it away in this head, never to be retrievable by anything else but this head. That is your central black hole. That is your supermassive black hole in the center of your galaxy, right? That is what your consciousness is. Think about it for a while, right? Think about it. Think about all the data that goes in there, and no one else can see that data go into that brain. No one else can see. You know, this is all information, and it all comes to like this central focal point in you, right? And you use that information to move your life in the direction that you want to move it. probably similarly to a galaxy. Do you guys really just think these galaxies are just randomly out there in the universe just doing random chaos? Do you actually not give anything credit? Like, for example, I don't know if you know this, but humans share 70% of our DNA with a common yeast cell. A yeast cell that evolved 2 to 3 billion years ago has 70% of the same genes in our DNA as it. That is phenomenal. That like a single cell organism that evolved like 2.5 billion years ago has the amount of information in its DNA that can do similar things with its DNA that corresponded to eat and fuck, and with that fucking multiply, right? Those basic kind of functions, right? Eat, fuck, multiply. That's it. That's what we want to do. That's what life wants to do. That's what it wants to do, right? And you can go as far down as you want, and life is still trying to imitate that shit. The single cell yeast is trying to imitate that. You can also go far fucking up, beyond what science has discovered, beyond what most people even ponder about, because science hasn't caught up to it. But just because science hasn't caught up to it doesn't actually mean that that's probably not exactly what's happening, right? Because that's probably exactly what's happening, right? It's the microcosm and it's the macrocosm. It doesn't matter where you zoom into the universe. It is universe that is experiencing, that is in some form living, that is in some form eating, fucking, or multiplying. Oh my God, these socks need to dry. My feet do not like walking on this. And it's all ash out there, if you remember, it's all ash. All right, I'm gonna take a little break, gather my thoughts, and come back to how I use this not only to brainstorm about, but as a perspective in my daily life. So those socks are gonna take a little longer now, I'm assuming. You see that fucking sun glare? Right across the screen here? I don't know if it's gonna catch it. Anyways. So yeah, I literally try and carry that perspective as much as I can with me during the day, because it feels very empowering to kind of not belittle yourself and try and connect yourself to bigger things and smaller things, right? Humble yourself as well. But I just think it's really cool to try and think of the things around you as actual galactic celestial bodies, right? With these dogs are like dwarf galaxies that orbit around me, which is a much larger, more together galaxy with plans, with like other friends that it like recognizes as full-blown galaxies. And the closer you are with that friend, the stronger that relationship, the more likelihood that that's just another galaxy that's really, really close to you, right? That's kind of how I see things. And the small things in life that are recurring, like our pets and our desires, these are kind of like dwarf galaxies, like I said, that kind of orbit around you. And I just really like the perspective of thinking, because these aren't permanent structures. These are our friends that come and go in our life, just like the dwarf galaxies that get caught up. They were small things that got caught up in the overall gravity of a galaxy and get spun and controlled around that bigger galaxy until eventually they're completely gone. It's just the stream of stars left that were once that dwarf galaxy, kind of like memories that are only left afterwards. That's another perspective I have on it too. Like the stars in a galaxy are literally like neuron nodes storing memories, and every one that you create is a new like fucking idea, a new star that's being made in your galaxy, right? And it gets stored out there, and some of them are really powerful ideas that just come and help you create more content, more thought, more idea, right? That's what galaxies really strive to do until they end up getting too greedy or corrupted with themselves and with their self-growth, right? The universe is not a marathon. It's not a marathon, but the galaxies since creation, since the very, very creation, treated it like a marathon. And that was a bad idea. That was a very, 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 very bad idea. And I don't know what galaxy thought that would be a good idea, but now we're looking at heat death within the next like handful of dozen decades, billion years, right? Well, I guess the heat death will be further off than that, but galaxies are running out of fuel. They have plenty of stars, but like actual gas, primitive, just H2 make the stars, they are running out of that. And the best way that they can generally get it these days is by merging with other gigantic galaxies. And that's kind of like getting married, right? Like, it's really hard to make money these days and to start a family and to start kids and to start a whole bunch of new ideas and to make a whole new kind of little thing, try and grow that. That takes a lot of fucking resources in our life, and in space it does too. It takes a shit ton, right? It takes a fucking merger, and you gotta pray that these galactic mergers aren't necessarily the best thing for the galaxies to do, right? Especially if they had a species within them that could figure out a more sustainable way to persist. But they might not have that sort of help, you know, kind of like we have help maybe from the mushies sometimes, you know. That's what I'm saying. But they might not have that help, right? And that's why I've been slowly trying to encourage people to think more sustainably, not just about Earth, but like our solar system, our local area, and like the galaxy itself. Like it has huge potential to persist, right? And I think that's one thing that we should strive to do, is not to necessarily strike down and control our galaxy, but to help give our galaxy better structure and better direction, right? Because that's kind of what it'll come down to, guiding a galaxy into a better direction for it to sustainably gather resources, instead of just haphazardly have these things flying through the universe and merging haphazardly, and next thing you know they're out of fuel because it wasn't planned properly. And that relates to us in our everyday life, right? That perspective comes back to us in our everyday life, guys. That's what I'm trying to get at you here. Like, we are really connected to these things, like the stars. You can do this with stars too. Like, stars are a lot more complicated because there's so many different types of stars and star variations. Wolf Rayets, supermassive red giants, supermassive blue giants. You got the stars like the sun, you got tiny, like, so stars have so many different personalities too, just like us too. And stars are closer to one another too, just like the galaxies and just like us humans. Like, we don't have to limit our perspective to this thing. And then on top of that limited perspective, trusting other people's perspectives more than your own, right? Trusting religion or politicians or institutions or just collectives of political ideas, or just trolls and scammers, right? So many different ideas out there competing for your galactic resources. They want you to come their way because they want to gobble you up for the same reason that you want to sustain yourself, right? I encourage everyone to stop feeding so much into these outside messages and more focus on what really works for you, what's within your grasp that's going to work for you, and what's not some far-flung out idea that's been well thought out and manipulated by some other force that's going to attract and lure you into that direction, thinking that that's the way, when there's no way but your way. There's no way but your way in this universe. Like, you're gonna die, and there's very little point in serving like these massive conglomerate ideas instead of serving one another, serving who's close to you, serving, think globally, act locally, help yourself. You gotta help yourself. You gotta focus on yourself and think within, ask yourself those questions and get those answers from within and listen, right? Listen to the universe. That's what we used to have to do. That's what humans used to have to do. Like, we didn't have science, but we still made it pretty good because we trusted ourselves. We had to. So now you can use science and trust yourself. You don't have to start trusting these other people who say they're using science, or they say they're this, or they say they're going to make you rich or that. Trust yourself, please. I kind of got off on the ramble there. I really wanted to make sure you guys trust yourself. I hope you kind of saw how I see things differently. Specifically how we're all galaxies. I believe we're all galaxies. Some of us are much smaller galaxies, right? Some of us don't have this central massive black hole that's like out of control. You look at the Milky Way, it's got a very small central massive black hole compared to, say, the Andromeda galaxy. But then you look at Triangulum and it's got an even smaller central massive black hole.